But all things happen for a reason. I ended up with a really great dad, so that all worked out really well. I've done a lot of research on the internet on him, and it just sounds like he had a huge fan club. I try to find out all I can on him. My daughter is very, very interested in learning all this, because all my kids are singers. They don't do it professionally, but it's in their genes, so they're all interested in our history." End quote.
Superstars to us when we were 12 years old. We used to watch that show, and as we got older and started experimenting with LSD, there was two shows that we used to watch when we were coming down off LSD or getting up on LSD, and that was Channel 7 Eyewitness News from Buffalo with Irv Weinstein. And when you're on LSD, there is nothing like messing with the color on the TV set, so Irv Weinstein's pockmarks became 3D. It was fantastic. And the other show that we would flip to that we watched only like 4 or 5 years before was The Hilarious House of Frightenstein. I love Billy Van. I followed his career. I watched him on Party Game, but by the time I started, as a bunch of guys started watching Party Game, we actually weren't watching Party Game for Billy Van or Captain Jack Duffy. We were watching for Dinah Christie. And there was something standing in this room when I came in here that only for the first time occurred to me. And without, you always think about stuff that comes from Hamilton and staying in Hamilton. I've told in great length my story about doing LSD and watching those TV shows. And I've been in Chicago, Illinois, and Calgary, Alberta, and Portland, Oregon. And when I mention the Hilarious House of Frightenstein, people cheer, man. People actually get it. And it's so wonderful that something that was made in our hometown had that kind of reach. But not only the geographical reach, the important reach that I'd have to say, and I dare say, that without the Hilarious House of Frightenstein, there'd be no Codco, there'd be no This Hour is 22 Minutes, there'd be no SCTV, there'd be no Kids in the Hall, because all those people were tuning in at the same time and getting ideas and how to form your career. And if there's anything Billy Van did as an artist, he did the most important thing, which you didn't really do it for the money and you didn't do it for the fame. You did it to open the door to opportunity for the next person to walk through, and Billy Van did that.
Years who was like him, and whenever he would do a charade, one I'll never forget, because Billy had some education. All the boys in the family had some education, but not a lot, and his desire to be an active comedic sense and any kind of sense to leave his name was very important to him. And he did it beautifully, of course, with elegance and certainly silliness. But he, one point, got a charade, and the minute he opened it, I saw a quiver just above his eyebrows, which was, oh, Jesus, what does that first word mean? And he looked at that, and he looked at me, and looked at Jack, went back and looked at the card, and then he looked at his foot. And I suddenly said out of my mouth, "Podiatrist?" And he went, "White witch, white witch." So after that, it was a whole lot of excitement between the two of us and great joy. he had a lovely thing he did with the women in his life, and as you would suspect, there were women in his life. And he always would give them a nickname, something special, just his. And then he'd be quiet and he'd lean over to Jack and myself and said, "I call her Puppy." And I said, "What about the one from last week?" "Oh, I call her Juniper." So there was all sweetness and light and stuff in there. And after he had crossed, and his then wife, wonderful woman, and I shared grief together, there came to the Massey Hall situation a psychic called John Edwards. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And he was brilliant, and I watched him all the time, and so did his wife, because she also was psychic to a certain extent and understood what had happened. And suddenly there it was at Massey Hall, so we all went, and they went with their way, and I went with my way, and friends and stuff. And he was exciting, talking to people in the stratosphere about some very significant problem and helping solve it, and we were just so amazed and blessed. And it was a summer's night, and intermission came, and people poured out of Massey Hall and just wandering around in that corner in Toronto. And suddenly the daughter of Billy's wife came rushing through back up to me and said, "Come, Dinah, come quickly, come quickly." And so I ran with her to the corner of that street where Massey Hall is, the northeast corner. And across the road, above all of the big buildings, there was a huge advertising plaque that was up there that, you know, used as every day as advertising. And his wife was standing there like that and staring up, and I came running to her, but she just pointed, and I looked up, and it just said, "Puppy." That's all it said, nothing else. And that was his love name for her. Powerful cat. Powerful cat.